Honest as Hell, a Men of Metal podcast. I'm your host, Kip Brooks. Welcome back to the show, everybody. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about a couple different little things um, just to help prepare you for the road. Hell season 2026 is well on its way. We've had I guess, second round of big storms come through. So pretty much everybody should be settled in somewhere. If you're not, there's plenty of stuff out there. Get on the phone or get in the car and get to the trail. I am hanging tight at home. Actually, going to be pouncing on the next set. I've been finalizing some things more local here. Uh, uh, Talking to a couple people at a shop, and then also lining up some stage shows. So trying to finalize all that, and it's three different shows, all local. And until we get it kind of locked in case I need to go and walk the facility or anything, I'm trying to hang out tight. But anyway, on to the show. So, uh, one of the big discussions that come up in the game are percentages and quoting properly and quality of work and all of that. And um, don't get hung up specifically on percentages. I Every time somebody has ever started talking to me about percentages specifically, and they're trying to focus on that, if it's a salesperson or broker or whomever it is that I'm going to work for, a local guy, anything, if the percentages are good and they keep it there, I'm always reminded of what's called the four square. It's used in car sales and a whole bunch of other industries, and just about every sales tactic or technique has its own version of it. But it's sleight of hand. It's distraction. It's uh, I play around with mentalism and stage hypnosis and things, and it's very much how you see sometimes on street performances where some guy comes up and he's got him on video, uh, and he's picking the guy's pocket and taking his watch. Um, while keeping his focus on something else. It's three card Monte. So in car sales, the four square thing, I think I've talked about it on here before, but where I learned it was for about, I don't know, a little more than a year, maybe. I sold cars when I was like 19, 20 years old, somewhere around that time of life, maybe 21. And um, I think the last dealership I worked at, they pushed this four square idea. And whenever we bring a customer in, um, sit down, start talking numbers, you would talk about percentages, trade in, down payment, and monthly payment, and the final number on the car. Not even the final number of the car, just the asking price, or if it's a new car, the MSRP. And starting with the retail sticker, and then they would, of course, want to talk you down, and of course, get the lowest price on the car. But um, you would list all those things out and go through them. But that was like a checklist. Well, if you switched it and you drew four square, which was just a T on the paper, and you put one in each. If you draw a T on a paper, it creates four little corners or four little squares. And you put down payment and trade in one of them as kind of a combo thing. Not everybody has a down payment, not everybody has a trade. Some people do both of them it just depends on the deal, but they're basically the same thing. It's money that or assets. I laugh calling it an asset. Robert Kiyosaki would punch me in the face. But um, uh, you put that's monetary items that the customer is bringing to the table. Um, and ideally, sometimes they're upside down in a trade and it's negative money. But either way, that goes in one column, and we only have four, so you had to make it work. So you put those together in one, then you've got their percentage, their APR, in another. You've got the final number of the car, the monthly payment. We usually actually took the final number of the car off and would try to focus on like the length of the deal. Um, because originally, when I first started selling cars, it was just kind of like everybody financed for 5 years, but there were leasing options and things for less. Now you can go up to like 72 months or whatever. Anything to keep you in debt longer. But anyway, so the idea of it, and the manager that taught it to me said, he's like, you put in the four square and they will tell you which square is important to them. He's like, at most it'll be two. He's like, so then you take the information away from the square and you just focus on that. And with all the other scribbling you do on the paper, he's like, the more you fill it up, the less they'll remember the other squares. And then once you get them to agree to that one, you're good. He's like, if you can get them happy in one of the squares or even two at most, um, he said, we can make our money on the other two squares. And it was all just smoke and mirrors. Well, um, every time somebody speaks on percentages, every time that debate comes up, I think of that four square every single time. And, you know, um, uh, 2024, I think I worked a retail deal and they paid the tax 60%. On paper, that sounded great. Very few places are doing that anymore, sadly. Um, And I remember a friend of mine, Cole, he was there, and I remember he wasn't happy about it. And I just kind of sat back and watched because um, I'd already actually had the conversation with the guy we were working for, so I knew that's what it was, and I was just there to test it. I was, there for other reasons. Um, and uh, and Cole, it took him a little bit to come around to it. He wasn't happy, and he voiced it. Um, And I'm not saying anything at all about Cole. I was glad he did it. Like I already had the conversation. I'm glad he did. I think more techs need to do that. Like we go into these deals and it's like, oh, this is the percentage, and we just kind of take it. And it's like, well, why is that a percentage? Because every number is kind of arbitrary, right? Every number on the planet in our game, like as far as price, anytime price is involved, the number's really made up, right? Like until somebody creates that number and decides what things cost and all this, it's like up until that point, all those numbers are just made up. And then someone comes up with a formula of how they came up with a number, and then everybody just kind of takes it. Like why does lunch cost what lunch does? And there's things factored into that because you can go in to McDonald's and pay $5 for something they call a burger. I guess I don't know. I haven't eaten at McDonald's so long. I don't know what they cost anymore. Um, and you can go and get a comparable burger with the same stuff on it, like maybe real cheese as opposed to McDonald's cheese, but like cheese, onions, lettuce, whatever the heck. I don't know what McDonald's puts on things. I really don't eat out much anymore, but I definitely don't ever eat fast food. But anymore. It used to be the foundation of my diet. But you go somewhere, you order a burger that has the exact same items on it, but it could be 20 bucks, 30 bucks. I've seen I've seen in person uh, on a menu like a $52 burger once. Um, but anyway, they're both burgers. They got the same stuff on them, but yet we don't question the difference, right? Um, but if we talk about it, it's like, oh, it's the environment, it's the quality of this put in, it's all this different stuff. But again, it's all just kind of made up and people accept it or they don't and they go somewhere else. Um, but they accept that that's how it is instead of like you're digging into it deeper. Anyway, I am so much fun at dinner parties because this is kind of how my mind works. I'm always curious how things that were created and rules, especially rules and laws, like how did that come into play? Um, and real rules as well as like just rules that we assume are rules. Anyway, um, so yeah, I think we need to voice that more. I really believe, like, I believe brokers have their place. I believe sales guys have their place. R&I guys definitely have their place. They are one of the most valuable pieces in the puzzle. Um, my personal favorite part of the puzzle, because they help me, get through stuff quicker, more efficient, and therefore make more money. Um, but the techs are extremely valuable. We are, uh, I'm sure I've shared this before, but if you go to uh, if you reach out to an HVAC company and you're getting a new HVAC system, someone has to install it. They'll send a technician. The salesperson will sell you the product, and then the technician will install it. Well, in our world, the technician is the product as well as the technician. So, in the negotiation or the debates back and forth of like, oh, sales guys and techs should get paid the same, bull crap. Um, I'm a big believer in sales. I do sales trainings all over the place for all sorts of companies. I've done them. I geek out on sales. Um, I am a big believer in having sales in the organization, a sales department in an organization. However, I don't believe they're always the most valuable piece. Um, Rarely are they. They are valuable, extremely valuable, especially a true sales guy. That's part of the problem is in our industry, there's like three true sales guys, and the rest are just walking around as talking brochures, giving away crazy amounts of money back to the customer and everybody else except the technician. Anyway, I'll get down off that soapbox for a little bit. So yeah, back to this percentages thing. So, I worked for this company, like I say, they paid us 60%, which is nothing to like thumb your nose at all. Um, it's awesome. It's sad that the industry's gotten to the point where 60% is considered awesome. I still remember the days of working for people and I was getting like 85% of the entire ticket. Like that was awesome. And there's still guys complaining about that. Like, so, you know, um, and it's hard when you've set up a lot of your own stuff, you do a lot of your own work to go and work for somebody, give them a chunk. Like the whole time in your head, you're just like, I could be doing this. Instead, I'm doing the exact same thing I've always done. I'm just getting paid less for it. So, it can mess with you. But anyway, um, a year later, almost exactly a year to the day, actually, I think, I worked on a different deal all by myself. I worked multiple deals with my buddy Cole there present, and a year later or so, I'm working by myself. Ironically, with a company that that had like the same branding, different company names, but like the foreman had the same name, like so many different little similarities. But the guy tells me, and I've known him for a very long time. Um, I hadn't worked for him in years, but I've known him. I met him, I think, in 2013, the first time, and on a very rough deal. And he happens to be a local guy, doesn't chase, um, has built an amazing business for himself and his team. And he really understands branding and he really dives into understanding business. And he sees his business very much as a business. And he knew I was in town. Went to town just for kind of a family adventure road trip. And then it was like, I know they got hill there yesterday. If if we happen to find some work, great, it's a bonus. So my wife and youngest son piled in the car and we went on a road trip to a state that we had never been to as a family. My son had never been to. So anyway, Get there and go around. It's like we're in town. We got to go say hey to some people. I want to introduce you to some of these people so you have faces to put with all these stories. And Happen to swing by this guy's shop real quick, say hello, talk to him for a little while, and leave. And later on, he calls me and he said, "Man, we're starting to get covered up." And he's like, "I know you were looking to set up your own thing and kind of adventure with the family." He said, "But I could use you. I've got a spot here for you if you want." Um, It's like, I know you know several other guys in town, worked here several times, like, yada, yada, yada. So we have a conversation and come to an agreement. I was like, yeah, man, I'll give you, uh, I'll come by. We'll finalize this, talk about it. And So long story short, not too long, but just cut it shorter so we can get on with the rest of the show. Um, he tells me, he's like, oh, one thing, because I didn't even ask percentages. I know this guy well enough, and he knows what my goal is to make. He knows what I'm used to making, all of that. I know how he runs his business, and I know he cares very much about the people working for him being really glad that they did, especially when it comes to payday, but in everything around pay. Like I've had him cut me a check as I was working on the last car, and then I was heading out of town to another deal, and while his deal was still going, um, but it was a it was a hell contact, and they really needed me, and it was a really good spot. Anyway, um, but he cut me a check, and all I had done was the roof on the car. I still had the rest of the car to finish up. And I tried to get him. I was like, and it was the first time I'd worked for him. And I was like, man, why don't you keep a couple of cars? Because, like, I know I haven't done anything that you wouldn't approve of or anything shady, but you don't know that about me. I was like, and I'm fine. I'm used to not even getting paid the first time for like a month, and you've been paying every week. And he wouldn't hear of it. He came with the check. He's like, nope, before you leave town, you paid every penny. Um, but and in every way, he holds himself accountable to a different standard with how he is, not just with his customers and his business, but like his techs specifically. The ones that work for him year round and are his employees, and those of us who show up as subcontractors once in a blue moon. Um, and that's awesome. Fantastic. Uh, but he brings up the percentages and he's like, uh, I pay 40%. And he's like, and that's it, that's how it is. He's like, it's non-negotiable. He's like, um, if you're cool with that, awesome. He's like, if not, I understand, blah, blah, blah. And I I gave it a go. And it ironically or not, um, I I did better at that 40% than I did at three other deals I worked at 60 and 65%. Um, and why? Well, there's other squares in the four square. Percentage is just part of one. Um, and with him, the way that dude estimates a car, he doesn't miss a penny. Uh, and And then when it gets off chart, he has a system in place that he has created um, and perfected, I think. He was asking me for areas to improve it, but I didn't see a flaw in it the whole time I was there. Um, and Adjusters almost don't argue with him because they can't, because he brings so much information and statistical data to them that they can't. Like he's covered all the bases. And also, he has a great reputation and a good relationship with the ones that normally come around. But even the cat team adjusters that had never met him before, it was covered. Like they were good with it. And even if there was something they needed to write differently on their end, it's like the at the end of the day, everybody was on the same page. And it was amazing. It was great. It was a fantastic experience. And when he first said 40% to me, I will say there was a sinking in my chest. And I was just like, no way, no way. And I was like, if the dent industry found out I was agreeing to work for 40%, I'd be done. Um, I've talked a lot of smack in the past about, who to work for, who not to work for, where to work, how to do it, like how to capitalize on it the best. And I was like, "Pfft, I'll be crucified." But then I thought about it, and then I was like, I know this guy, and I've already seen, I've already worked with him in the past. I've known him for quite a while, and I know how he carries himself. I know too many other things. It's like, um, and I know the numbers already, the estimates he's already written, a couple of them, and it was just like, all right. So we talked a little bit more, and I said, man, I'll give it a whirl, and if it's making sense, um, then yeah, I'll stay. If it's not, until you get my replacement here, I'll stay. And we left it, we agreed to that. And that's where we left it. I stayed the entire time and never once regretted it. It it worked out great. And why? Because all the other squares are taken care of. And also, here's one of the things. And again, something I knew about him. Now, there were other evidence pieces around. It takes a lot of money to run a business like a business, putting money back into the company, marketing, branding, and that goes for hell brokers who do nothing but chase storms, and that also goes for the local guys. And uh, it's not just during the storm. Um, you've got to have a presence going, right? And especially if you're a local guy, because you're there 365 days out of the year. So I looked around, like his building is branded. All of his guys, their gear is branded from hats to shirts, all the way through. And of course, invoices, everything else, like everything about him. Almost every customer that comes there thinks he's a franchise. And in my younger days, I'd be like, well, that I don't care about that. Like I'm trying to get paid. Well, and I hear a lot of guys say the same. It's like that yearly branding doesn't help. Well, yeah, it does. We were outside the storm cell and kind of in between, but like in a corner outside of like like southwest of where all the storms hit, kind of. And he's in a very competitive market. Um, there's not nearly as many dent guys there as there are like in the area where I live, but the ones that are there for a reason. Like the strongest have survived. They are awesome. And um, for him to have the business he's had says something. But also, we got more hell jobs than anyone else I know in the area that were actually in the storm areas. It was a lot of scattered stuff. It wasn't really it wasn't a chaser's storm, not in the I guess there was a little bit more of a chaser storm about an hour and a half north of us, I think. But that damage was so bad that there was a lot of conventional. So then it was still not really a great storm for chasers. But anyway, where I was at, it was a local storm where you would typically get like just a little bit of work here and there, but for a stretch of several months. So it's just nice bonus that you could still take care of your day-to-day, your route, your retail customers, whatever you have, and squeeze in a hell car a week. Somehow, well, not somehow, because of the branding and year-round marketing and everything else, I was there every single day and I worked sometimes 6 days a week. Um, and I was there for 6 weeks. And full disclosure, the last week was not uh, good for a chaser to be there. Uh, but there was holdups on supplement approvals. There was a last minute rescheduling. There was a lot of little things, but I didn't stay that week because of that. I was just helping them prepare and transition. They had other things going on, him and his year-round techs, that they were trying to get some other things squared away and settled. So I stayed knowing it wasn't going to be a good week, um, but stay there as a friend and a long-term contact. And but the rest of the time it was great. And even that week, it's like I still was in the good. It's just it's if it's like consecutive weeks like that, it's not something you'd stay for. But I knew what it was the whole time. And that's the thing, like it's full disclosure with this guy all the time. You know everything. He sends customers with swag. Like you see where I've worked with a lot of brokers. I used to have a rule that I threw around to people. It's like never work for someone who owns a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or name your car, right? And I didn't say it 100% sincerely, but it's a nice little rule. It's a nice red flag to look for. Um, and uh, and if they have multiple like six-figure cars, just watch out. Um, a red flag, whether it's in a relationship, friendship, or business, a red flag doesn't mean, oh, absolutely not. It's just something to look at. It's a piece of information. And then you collect other data, kind of like when we talked about reading body language and nonverbal communication. It's like this doesn't automatically mean that. X does not automatically mean Y. It just means I need some more data. I need some more info. Um, so, you know, if you go to work for someone and the percentages are kind of out of balance there between broker and tech, and then they've got a bunch of supercars and like all this other stuff and all these toys, it's like, I kind of see where that extra percentage is going. Uh, but with uh, this gentleman, Sean, it's like you see it in the branding, you see it in his presence in the community. You see it like just in his ad spend, like everywhere. And he will tell you, he's like, if you ever want to see where any of this money goes on every single car, come ask me. I'll give you a printout. Um, and he will. And that's awesome. And you can see it. Like it's not going to him. He pays himself normally as just a higher up employee type thing. He's got his management staff. He has a year-round sales guy. Like he's got things working, but you just see it in his marketing and branding. I was actually after seeing how he does things, I was actually surprised that he's able to even pay the 40% to the tech. Um, and all his work year round led to me having a really strong 5 weeks um, with him. So I'm not telling you who to go work for. I'm not saying percentages aren't important. I'm just saying they just because somebody gives a good percentage. Well, how are the sheets? Like 80% of crap is still crap, right? Like uh worked uh a retail deal for a similar situation, local guy. And he's like, man, we handle all the estimates and supplements, and you just get to push. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. But then you find out who's writing the sheets, and it's just some dude he hired through a Craigslist post, And it's like, how long you been writing estimates? How long you been writing hail damage? It's like, oh, since the beginning of the storm, man. Yeah, I'm like a month in. I got it now. It's like, oh God, no. I know 20-year text that I won't let write my estimate. I know 30-year text I won't let write my estimates. And ironically, I think Cole was on that deal too. Um, I'm starting to remember all Cole and I have known each other a very short period of time, really, when you relatively speaking, for our time in the industry. But we've been through a lot of trenches together. Anyway, uh, yeah, so it's like, oh, we were getting a great percentage, but the numbers were, there was so much money left on the table. And then when an adjuster would come out, like the guy that was paying 40%, he's handling it, him personally or his manager. And if the manager can't get the job done for whatever reason, he tags in the owner. But they make sure, like, nope, we wrote it fairly. This is what it's going to be. They don't play any games, and they know it, and that's how it's done. But on this other one, and plenty of others, I've seen that once the adjuster comes out, they have the shop's write-up sheet and then start looking at it, and the adjuster starts cutting a bunch of things, and the shop just takes it. It's like no one ever actually talks to the adjuster, and whatever sheet he leaves, whatever final number he puts on it, well, we just got to take it. Um, and and I've seen so many, especially local guys, but I've seen that with hell brokers and retail crews and so many things. But I've seen it with local guys where they very much like you see at body shops sometimes, where they bow down to the adjuster because it's like, well, if we work with them year round, we can't upset them. And it's like it's not about upsetting them. It's about getting what's appropriate. Like if a car on a frame rack needs 6 hours of frame time, it needs 6 hours of frame time. Like if they just say two, you're not going to let it ride. Like if it legitimately needs this time, that's what it needs. Um, it's like it's all a give and take. It's all a dance. But when you're talking like large sums of money, and even if it's not, even if it's a couple $100, like pick your battles with, pick your fights in those negotiations and things. But when you look at, you run through a shop, 300 cars on a storm, well, $100 shaved off of every single estimate. That adds up quick, real quick, and that hurts everybody. Now, is $100 always worth fighting for with the adjuster? That's a different question. But when it comes to $500 on every single estimate, $1,000 on every single estimate, I've I've seen so many cars two, three, $4,000 short, um, and people are like, ah, that's all right. And no, 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 it's not. Um, I worked for a crew on a Hellstorm wholesale deal. And then they were talking on this big game about how they were going to flip it over into doing retail. And they had a shop and they already had work. And as soon as you guys are done here, you come on over here and work in a retail shop. It's like awesome. We got over there and they had no work. They had one car, and it came from the body shop. Um, and uh, and it was trashed. It was annihilated. Uh, and out of a month of their great sales guys being there, we didn't have any cars. And then when we did get them in, they were just going with whatever the adjusters wrote. No one was actually writing the estimate. Like I worked with the Hobbs crew and like AJ Ahmed and Steve Menino and I hope I said his last name right. It's been a long time since I've been around him. But when they were setting up deals and I worked with them, they were battling with the adjuster all the time. I shouldn't say battle, like it's not always a battle, but they were handling the supplement process and the techs get to stay working. And it's like, and that's how it should be. And then if the numbers weren't right, like they were going back at it. It's like, no, like this doesn't make sense. Like it's not right. Like what we're asking for is very fair and it's a necessity. But because most of what we do is labor, a lot of adjusters don't see it that way. You know, we've had that experience. I've had some great adjusters and I've had some bad adjuster experiences. I'm sure we all have. So anyway, just really went on a tangent with that, but don't get caught up in that one little square. The percentage is not the only part of the calculation. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. And that's fine. But um, at the end of the day, um, it's the whole piece of the pie, the whole what's left in the pot after the numbers are cooked. Um, a really good percentage of a really poorly written estimate is a much bigger issue than a mediocre percentage on a really well written estimate or even a quality written estimate. Um, but just shoot, I would like my buddy Cole that I was talking about. I'd work for, I hope he doesn't hear this, but I would work for 30% for him because I know how he writes a sheet. Dude doesn't miss a number. It takes him a day and a half probably to write an estimate because he'll go back, think about it a little bit, work on something else, and then come back to it and go back around the entire car and see if there's anything he's missing. He's like obsessed with making sure he doesn't miss something, especially if someone is working for him or with him. He really does not want to drop the ball for himself, but definitely not when he's got guys counting on him. Um, but anyway, um, yeah, so what I'm saying is that's the biggest focal point I see people paying attention to in the four squares of the hill repair. I don't know what the other squares would be really, but never really thought about it that far. I guess percentage, then um, uh, yeah, number per car, and then I don't know. It's not important. But and my four squares are different than most people because I'll pick like, well, who's going to be there? um, where's this deal at? You know, I think more of I'm just at a different stage and age in life than I used to be. But and is my family coming with me? That depends on what part of the squares I'm paying attention to, or even if there's squares at all, throwing them out. But hopefully, guys get the point. Bring on the hate, bring on the questions, bring on the cries of outrage, as my wife says. But yeah, I'm not saying ignore percentages. I'm just saying they're not the only piece of the pie. There's a company, I think, DMG in Texas, that I worked there just because I was uh, helping a buddy out, or so I thought. I was trying to. A bunch of us were. And later on, I found out that like we were all told, oh, it's 50%. Uh, Here's the other thing. When you hear a percentage, learn to ask of what? Um, 50% of what exactly? Which number am I getting 50% of? Because you hear 50%, we tend to think, oh, that's 50% of the ticket or 50% of the PDR or whatever it is. And you find out, look at, back to the Hobbs crew and AJ and all of them. When I worked for them, it was 50% of the profit, which was wonderful. It was great. And I was working with them at 50% years ago, like a decade ago or more, when people thought that was nuts. But again, nobody got numbers like they did. Like they were the best at getting work in because their sales guys were actually sales guys. Then once the car got there, the next job was getting the car was the first job. Second part of the job was getting the supplement agreed to. Then the easiest part really for me was my part, which was getting getting the work done and grinding through it and being able to keep up. Because man, they brought a lot of work. That crew was awesome. Um, but yeah, the this other group, DMG, well. there were so many 50% taken out or so many percentages taken out before it got to a number where they're going to give you 50% that someone did the math one day, like long after I left, and they were like, holy crap, man, I was just working for this company and I was getting 18% and I was the highest paid guy there. And out of the crew of techs that came in at the time. So, yeah, again, if you tunnel vision just on the one number, 50%, 30%, 72.3%, whatever it is. Just clarify. I was working for, uh, that brings up two Keith Cosentino stories. Um, Keith on the podcast once said, why does everybody jump either direction with 5%? He said, there's a lot of percentage, there's a lot of numbers between 30 and 35. He's like, why do we go to shops and it's like, oh, you're getting 30%? I'll give you 35. I'll give you 40. And that's the sad thing is a lot of times it jumps up to 10%, it seems like. But um, he's like, if you can't get it 30, what did you even try 31, 30 and a half, 31.2, you know? Um, so yeah, look at percentages a little different. Don't just take it in black and white, set in stone like it is. Now, Keith Story, I was working for him. And what did we call? There was a disagreement. I don't know, a discrepancy. We had different perspectives of where the percentage came out. And what I mean by that, really, with this case is, uh, it's like, oh, the shop gets this percentage, and then the percentage is taken out of the same number. So if you have, say, 100, um, and say the shop's getting 10, um, because their percentage is 10%. It's like, does the broker get his 20% of the original $10, or is it the $20, or is it the 20% of the nine that's left over? And we had to, we had to phone a friend because uh, like nobody was stuck in it. Like Keith is a phenomenal dude, done so much for this industry, and I'm so grateful for him. I know so many guys that he has literally changed their life just through his podcast alone. But um, he and I both are extremely curious individuals, and then if we are wrong in something or incorrect, we want to figure out where we're mistaken and where we came to that. And then, and then if we think we're right, we want to find out, are we really? Or, use it as a learning and growth experience. And so we had to phone a friend, and not even a friend, called, I don't remember who we called. It was somebody at Recon Pro or somebody at Mobile Tech RX. It was so long ago, I don't remember what software was out. But again, so that just goes like clarity. Because when we were doing numbers with each other, it's like we were way off. And it's like, man, I'm no mathematician, but I've been at this a long time. And Keith was the same way. Like he's he's run multiple very successful businesses. Um, so it was just uh difference in perspective or experience or whatever. So anyway, just get clear, ask questions. If you're not crystal clear, ask more questions. So um actually wrap it up there because went on that tangent longer than I planned, or at least it feels longer. Um, and the next one was the psychology of the quote, and that was my next point. And that one will probably go. We'll probably get deep into some, well, the psychology. So instead of making this a crazy long episode, we'll wrap it up there and do the next one on the next one. So thank you guys so much and see you on the next